Hey Liz, good afternoon. This is Grant Putnam here. Just want to quickly go over the quote with you so you understand everything. So let's see here. So I broke this down in sections for you. You'll notice there's going to be different subtotals on the quote. One subtotal is going to include all the plantings around here, okay, along the house, excluding the plantings in here. And excluding the work for the herb garden, the raised herb garden. So in regards to this, my opinion is because this is a nonprofit, I'm assuming, right now if you did all three sections, it was around $28,250 as a total. All right. I would present it to them. If you want, I could print out three separate quotes, but I presented to them in almost three quotes, because you're not sure exactly what their budget is. So if we print out three different quotes with three different subtotals or three different totals, then I think there's a better chance they'll end up moving on one of them. The scope of work in this area here, here, and here was around 14,000, right around 14,000 plus tax. Okay. The parterre was involves a lot of work as far as masonry and whatnot, and that's the piece I know that could look really nice, but that's a higher cost per square foot than anything else on the design, and that was roughly around 11,000 plus tax. All right, and then the vegetable garden, including using Belgian block rather than railroad ties, was around $1,720 plus tax. So for the first phase, which I think is going to give you your biggest improvement is aesthetics, which again is these outside plantings around the house, that I think there's good value. But in regards to that, I would say that if you wanted to, I could add the plantings along this area. That's probably going to end up raising the cost a couple thousand. Okay, if you wanted to, again, add plantings where the lawn is currently along this fence. I didn't have anything included in my quote for that because I thought that might put it over budget, but by all means, I could add that if you would like. All right, so I have the hedge in here, and I gave you two different options. Glossia, which a lot of books are incorrect because it actually drops about half their leaves. So if you type in Glossia winter in the internet, you're going to notice that it doesn't look very good during the winter and drops most of its leaves. So it's not really a true evergreen. I called Hardscrabble Farms, which is the biggest wholesale vendor in probably the Northeast. And I talked to the son of the owner, who's been working there since he was a kid, and he said he's never heard someone use that for a screen before. So I'm not sure if, number one, you can only get the maximum size. You can only get in a 5-gallon size, which is only about 18 inches tall. So to form that into a hedge is probably about 5 years down the road. And again, during the winter, I don't think it's going to necessarily give you the tight screen that you're looking for, especially since that they drop their leaves. So I would recommend against that. But I give you another option of using Holly Blue Princess, which keeps its color all winter. It's an evergreen. You can buy it. Oops, let me just get this back on here. Sorry, the screen went blank. Here we go. We can get it at a value size around 3 to 3.5 feet. Okay, and I can get really high quality plants. So if you're trying to cover, 60 linear feet, and you space them 3 feet apart, center on center, then it comes out to about $4,600. But anyways, I gave you two options based on however you want to do it. But that's just my recommendation. So screening along the driveway, so that's this area over here. Okay, it's 24 linear feet. You could use viburnum. You could do like a summer snowflake viburnum, which is again grow a little bit more compact. Or you could do like a popcorn viburnum. So there's different viburnums we can do. Summer snowflake is popular. Popcorn is popular. Both of those are more compact viburnum. All right, and then the other option is a Purgense viburnum. So Purgense, about 80% of the years will keep their leaves on the branches during the winter. Last winter was the first year that the grower who grows them mentioned, he grows those in the Northeast, he mentioned it's the first year that he's seen them drop their leaves because of how cold it was. So so that's the advantage with the Purgense viburnum, is that they do typically keep their color during the winter. Okay, so I give you two options for that. Let's see here, plantings along foundation of house, 49 feet, so that's this area right here. All right, last time we spoke I mentioned that if you go with a macrophylla hydrangea, there's a good chance it's not going to flower. So I suggest using Invincible Wee hydrangea. It's a type of an arborescens hydrangea which blooms on new wood, so it guarantees to flower. And arborescens hydrangea typically also grow better in the shade than most other forms of hydrangea. So it is a very shady section of the property, so you have limited sunlight. The hydrangea is going to grow. It's just, again, you have to have expectations. It's not going to be as beautiful as if you were having more sunlight. So just be aware of that. I think it's still something that'll be successful, look good, but it's not going to look as vibrant as something that's getting more sun. Okay. So I gave you, let's see, Invincible Wee, so that's that. Plantings along front entrance of the house, so that's this area in here. All right, and I measured that, and that was roughly 27 feet by 4 feet wide. So you're going to remove the Pachysandra. I wouldn't do Vinca there because that's a southern exposure of the house. So the sun comes up here, runs this way south, always swings south during the hotter part of the summer, and then ends up west over here. So you actually get a pretty decent amount of sunlight there, which is one reason why the Pachysandra is not doing so great. The Vinca, you could go with Vinca, but just be aware that you might not be as successful as a Liriope. If I was you, I would use Liriope. It's going to be a little bit more cost effective, and it's a nicer plant than typically a Vinca. It still gives you a ground cover effect. So I gave you, but again, this is your project, so we can do it however you want. I'm just giving you my suggestions. So option one is removing the Pachysandra, adding Liriope, and then 2 green velvet boxwoods or dwarf boxwood that grow about 30 inch by 30 inch on either side of the step. The viburnum is going to be too big for the front of the house there, because the viburnum, even a dwarf viburnum, is going to grow like 4 feet by 4 feet, and proportionally that's going to look like they're overgrown right next to the steps. Plus there's not even 4 feet by 4 feet of space on either side of the steps. So the way that it's configured from looking at the video, here's the video, let's just show you that. So if you look here, the way it's configured, it's a smaller area in here, so you don't really even have that much space to be able to put that viburnum. Let's go back to the quote. So one option is doing it that way. Another option is you end up planting hydrangeas along the sides to match these hydrangeas, so you have a really clean look. It's going to cost you less money because typically shrubs that grow a little bit larger are less cost per square foot than doing like a ground cover. So you end up, again, carrying these white dwarf hydrangeas here and here, and then putting Liriope along the edge of the bed on both sides. So in that situation, that's option 2. So you're going to use about 9 hydrangeas, 22 Liriope, and it saves you about $1,300. So that's why I ended up using option 2 within the quote. Let's see here. New plantings in existing mulch bed under hemlock trees. So that's in here. Okay. There's so much shade in there. If you try to plant a viburnum or even a shade tolerant plant, even like a boxwood, for example, which I know is not really the design you're going for, both of those items or majority of other shrubs are not going to grow well in there because there's very, very, very little sunlight. So I wouldn't suggest putting in a plant that a couple years on the road is not going to look good. I know what would be successful are a fern garden mix. You could even again put like ferns through the majority, and along the edge you could put a colorful shade perennial such as like a hosta or a stilbe. Hosta the deer will eat, a stilbe the deer don't eat. The ferns typically the deer don't eat. So that's what I would suggest. I know it would be nice